Hello Virgo, and welcome to your monthly horoscope for June for the Sun or the Ascendant. I'm going to give you the broad themes to look out for, but please stay with me because I've got a lot to tell you about, not least the Saturn retrograde, the Neptune retrograde. Pluto, of course, is already in retrograde, and your ruler begins this month in retrograde too, but it doesn't stay that way for long. Also, we have a very important full moon at the heart of this month, and that full moon also coincides with your ruler climbing to the top of your horoscope, which is where the story of this month begins, with the power of last month's new moon and cascading energy into this month in your sector of success. So are there going to be some changes around that area? Please stay with me for more, but if you would like to ascend above this Zodiac broadcast and investigate your natal astrology, if you give me 3 pieces of personal information of time, date and place, I can give you a roadmap that can guide you for the rest of your days, but also a 12-month forecast that will give you the information that can see you capitalize on opportunities in the next year specifically. And there's 30% off. Please see the link below. And finally, if you've yet to subscribe to my channel, I'd be honored if you did so now. I'm very close to that 100,000 subscribers. All the health issues I've had over the last 10 years been a bit of a pain, literally, with the rheumatoid arthritis, but I'm nearly there. So if you haven't yet subscribed, I'd be very grateful. But stay with me for much more next. So Virgo, as you enter this month, the energy of that new moon, which occurred on the last day of May, is very potent. A new moon is when the sun, which is at the heart of our drive, and the moon, which is the essence of our receptiveness, merge. And this one occurred high in the sky in your 10th house. The 10th house is very much to do with our role in life, but you've got a whole cluster of influences, including your ruler, obviously initially retrograde, but along with the rather charming Venus, the North Node and Uranus, all in your 9th house as this month begins. So I feel that there's the potential for some changes for you, particularly around your work. Maybe because Mercury had been in your 10th house, some conversations or even interviews or presentations you've done a few weeks ago may not have rendered the results you hoped. But I think by the middle of this month, you can start to see results. Also, Mars and Jupiter forge an awesomely powerful combination as June begins. They're in a conjunction, but they are in your 8th house of deep transformation all through this month. They're likely to make you quite amorous and also give you the desire to improve your financial situation. If you're an entrepreneur, this set of influences points towards you being extremely enterprising. And I really feel that you're going to start to gain traction once Mercury goes forwards on the 3rd and comes out of shadow on the 4th. Now, it could be that you're going through a series of negotiations or finding out some information. You may even be thinking about some form of professional training or even some academic enrollments in order to improve your skill set. But travel could be part of this, and I think with Mars and Jupiter in such an inspirational conjunction, and Jupiter is the planet of international affairs, your passion and desire to do something more spontaneously is going to be strong. Also, Venus forges a beautiful link with Mars for the first 12 days of this month. It is quite subtle, but it suggests that there may be someone who's rather different to you or comes from a completely different background who actually turns out to be very alluring and attractive. Now, the 13th is a big day because your ruler moves back into Gemini, and that means it's in your 10th house. That training potential could be something that you're actively grappling with at that point. But also from the 13th to the 19th, the Sun's in a very telling but productive angle with Saturn. And yes, Saturn goes retrograde on the 4th of this month in your sector of the precision that you're so adroit at providing. So I think Saturn's just saying that you've only got a certain amount of energy. You've got to apportion it in very specific ways between now and the 23rd of October. Don't scatter yourself too thinly. But if you work hard, as this link between the Sun and Saturn shows you, from the 13th to the 19th, this could be when a new job opportunity or professional advancement can come for you. The full moon on the 14th, however, it's all about the money in a way, because if we think that the success that you're trying to create professionally is going to be challenged by how that impacts on you in your emotional and personal world, maybe your preoccupation with making progress professionally could see you taking your eye off the needs of your more emotional basis. And because Neptune's in the mix, there may be a bit of confusion around balancing that classic work-life scenario that we're all grappling with. Despite all these labour-saving devices, it's funny, isn't it? Have less and less time, and we have all these things that help us. Amazing. But Neptune suggests that somebody else's opinion could feature in trying to find the balance. So if you're being very single-minded about progress, somebody close to you could be reminding you of the need for rest, recuperation, or staying in touch with your emotional foundations. The 21st sees the beginning of the second cardinal quadrant, the summer solstice, in terms of how Western tropical astrology works. If you're watching this in the south, of course it's the winter solstice for you, but the way astrology works, it begins with the spring equinox with Aries. We're now moving into the second phase, which is about security. But for you, it's about, weirdly, sociability, because the sign of Cancer is where you can link with others. Also, Venus moves to join up with your ruler Mercury on the 23rd in the part of your horoscope that's to do with your links professionally, or perhaps where you're able to share your skills and provide leadership to others. But Venus in the 10th house suggests that charm will get you everywhere. So earlier in this month it can make you curious and restless. Later in this month it could be great if you are trying to cultivate some new contacts. Now Neptune goes retrograde on the 28th, and that's saying through to the 4th of December that relationships is an area that you cannot take for granted. The new moon on the 29th, however, is in a square with Jupiter. Jupiter in the 8th house, that's making you very desirous of either intimacy or improvements financially. It's a very sexy combination between Mars and Jupiter at the start of this month. Maybe there's a friend that's really going to call out to you, but if there is a financial opportunity that comes up towards the end of this month and going into July, I wouldn't over-egg it. Be very realistic about this prospect, because when Jupiter's in the mix with the Sun in a square, we can think that anything is possible. And weirdly, sometimes if we think it, we can make it happen, but also we can kid ourselves and it, could have a big disappointment. So working with Jupiter in the right way is the key here. But Venus actually forges a brilliant link to Jupiter and a semi-sextile to the new moon. So that's very, very useful. So it may be a case of who as much as what you know when it comes to your life story towards the end of this month, whether it's professionally or in terms of your associations. But something influential, somebody important can be manifested into your situation as this month draws to a close. Mars and Pluto also have a bit of a clash as June ends, the last 3 days. Maybe your desire for something is just going to be so strong, it's going to prove, or they're going to prove, rather irresistible as the final minutes of this month count down.